Exposed. The incredible truth about past civilizations that will change your perspective forever. In the small Midwestern town of Maplewood, life was often wrapped in simplicity, swaddled in a sense of community warmth. As summer stretched its limbs and the air filled with the sweet scent of cotton candy, a different kind of excitement buzzed beneath the surface, a secret waiting to be uncorked. Sam, a hard-working mechanic with grease-stained hands and dreams for his young daughter Ellie, felt it. He caught the hope in her sparkling eyes as they shared moments in their cozy little home, decorated not with money, but with love and scraps of creativity. As the annual fair approached, the anticipation woven through the fabric of their daily life began to boil over. Ellie twirled in her sundress, her laughter echoing in the small garage where her father toiled late into the night. "Daddy, can we get cotton candy this year?" she begged, her joy filling the room. Sam chuckled, a sense of pride swelling in his chest. "Of course, sweetheart. We'll share the biggest one they've got," he promised, planting a soft kiss on her forehead. Yet, as the townsfolk bustled about preparing for the festivities, a team of workers struck an ancient artifact buried deep beneath their feet. It was a fragment of a civilization long forgotten, a connection to a time when their community was built on joint efforts and family. News spread swiftly, transforming the air around them into a theater of chaos. Suddenly, what was once a joyful occasion turned into a tidal wave of conflict. Ambitious outsiders flicked glances toward Maplewood, eager for profit while old loyalties began to simmer. Sam felt the tension tightening around him like a vice. The artifact represented more than a scholarly discovery. It was a mirror reflecting what Maplewood had always stood for: tradition, legacy, and the battle against the tide of greed. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As whispers of suspicion wove through the town, Sam rallied his neighbors' friends unified by shared values. "We can't let them take this away from us," he shouted, sparks igniting in the hearts of those who had spent their lives nurturing this small town and its simple joys. Emotions flared in another town meeting, neighbors clashing over ideals, a grim reflection of their past. Yet, within that strife, a flicker of hope surfaced. Sam clenched his fists, determined to stand firm against those who threatened the harmony of their lives. "We are more than an artifact. We are a community," he implored, eyes blazing with a fire that belonged to every parent harboring dreams for their children. As the fair loomed closer, Sam found himself at a crossroads. The image of Ellie smiling intertwined with the weight of honoring his town's legacy. Just when it seemed the division would tear them apart, hope flickered, tethering them to a past they'd almost forgotten. But the arrival of the artifact's new guardians would soon disrupt their fragile peace, and darker motives began to unveil. Could Sam protect the memories of Maplewood amidst this impending storm? Or would greed uproot everything he held dear? The answers lingered on the horizon, just out of reach, leaving their world teetering on the brink of something profoundly transformative. The sun set over Maplewood, casting long shadows across the town square where preparations for the fair were in full swing. Bright banners fluttered in the warm breeze, but a tension hung in the air that soured the sweetness of cotton candy and carnival games. Sam could sense it as he stood in front of his garage, watching Ellie paint bright colors onto a wooden sign for their stand. "Look, Daddy," she squealed, holding up the sign that read LES Lemonade. Her enthusiasm was contagious, a sunlight breaking through the gathering clouds of uncertainty. "It's beautiful, sweetheart," he replied, trying to match her joy while wrestling with the fears that gnawed at him. Every cheer from the nearby fair preparations was like a reminder of what was at stake. Sam's phone buzzed. It was a message from Sarah, a lifelong friend and one of the organizing committee members for the fair. "They want to discuss the artifact situation further tonight at the community center," it read. Sam's heart sank. The talks had become more furious than productive, with neighbors split into factions. Protectors of the town's heritage versus outsiders craving profit. It's just about the town, right? Everyone wants what's best, Ellie asked, humming a song she heard on the radio. Yeah, of course, he lied, forcing a smile. Deep down, he felt the weight of the truth that not everyone shared the same intentions. That evening, the community center felt more like a battleground than a place for dialogue. Sam found a seat beside Sarah, who had been diligently trying to mediate. The air crackled with disagreement. Voices raised over who deserved to control the artifact. Sam's palms began to sweat as he glanced at the crowd. Old friends turned enemies, shouting over each other, a grim reflection of what they were risking. Listen up, Sarah called out, her voice cutting through the chaos. We need to focus on what matters. The artifact is part of our story. It's what connects us. But a man from out of town shouted back, eyes gleaming with ambition. Your story doesn't hold value if there's profit to be made. We could turn this into something big: hotel chains, tours. The chamber erupted. People on either side of the line, some nodding in agreement, others shaking their heads in disbelief. At that moment, Sam felt a surge of emotion overcome him. It wasn't just about an artifact. It was about their homes, their families, their memories. He stepped forward, voice steady but impassioned. If we let greed take over, we lose everything that matters. We can preserve our legacy and still move forward, but we can't do it by tearing each other apart. Silence fell. Eyes turned to him, uncertain hope flickering in the corners of tired faces. Then came a whisper, soft but powerful, urging through the silence like a spring breeze. Sam's right, shouted a woman from the back, a widow who had lived through the hard times and watched the town pull together. We need to work as one. For our kids. For our future. With that, a wave of murmurs rolled through the room, the tides turning ever so slightly. Connections began to reknit as old friendships sparked flickers of agreement. But at that moment, the doors swung open, and a group of well-dressed strangers entered, their sharp suits contrasting the warmth of Maplewood's spirit. Sam felt the room tense once more as they strode in confidently, their eyes scanning the crowd like hawks. Who are they? Ellie whispered, clutching at his side, her innocent eyes wide with uncertainty as the strange newcomers approached. Their intentions shimmered like dark clouds on a sunny day. Sam's resolve solidified. This was just the beginning. They weren't just fighting for an artifact. They were fighting for the very heart of Maplewood. What did they want, and what would it mean for Sam and Ellie? The answers were wrapped in shadows, leaving a pulse of anticipation hanging heavily in the air. Sam's heart raced as the newcomers drew closer, their polished shoes tapping lightly on the floor, each step echoing like a warning bell. He could feel the tension in the room tighten around him, a heavy blanket that muffled voices and quickened breaths. The crowd's murmurs faded into a low hum, curiosity battling suspicion. What do they want? He whispered more to himself than to Ellie, who squeezed his hand tighter as if seeking reassurance. She looked up at him, eyes wide with both fear and determination, and for a moment, he saw a reflection of his own anxieties. He needed to protect her, to shield her from what this battle was truly becoming. Before he could gather his thoughts, one of the newcomers, a tall woman with dark hair neatly pulled back, stepped forward. She cleared her throat, and the room fell silent once again. Good evening, everyone. My name is Laura Chambers, she announced, her voice crisp and authoritative. We're here because of the artifact and its potential. We represent Windfall Enterprises. The name sent a ripple through the crowd. Whispers danced among the attendees. Emotions swirled like leaves in the autumn wind. Windfall Enterprises wasn't just about preservation. They were known for commercializing history, turning cherished artifacts into attractions. Sam felt a sudden lurch in his stomach, dread sinking deep within him. Maplewood has a chance here, Laura continued, her eyes sparkling with ambition. Imagine transforming this town into a hub for cultural tourism. We have the means to build a $50 million museum right here. Several faces in the audience glowed with interest. You could sense the way this idea took root, blooming in minds that were desperate for hope and reinvention. Sam's breath hitched. He caught sight of Sarah, her expression a mix of disbelief and horror. They couldn't let this happen. That sounds wonderful. A man from the crowd chimed in, his voice dripping with excitement. We could all benefit. More jobs, more visitors. But Sam's heart ached. At what cost? He shouted, the question piercing through the hopeful chatter. All eyes turned to him again, surprised but intrigued. This isn't just about profit. This is about our roots, our identity. We don't want to be just another tourist trap. Laura raised an eyebrow, assessing him as though he were a puzzle to solve. And what do you propose? Refusing this opportunity means clinging to a past that will never return. We can't let nostalgia blind us. But we can honor the past and build for the future. Sam felt the fire rising in his chest. There's a way to do both. Turn your plans into a partnership, not a takeover. We can create something that reflects who we are, not just what can be sold. A murmuring wave began to roll through the crowd again, uncertainty mixing with burgeoning hope. Could they truly merge their vision with Windfall's? Yet, a nagging doubt lingered in Sam's mind. Will they really listen? He mused quietly. Ellie tugged at his arm, and he knelt beside her. This is our town, Ellie. We can fight for it together. But in the back of his mind, there was a shadow nestled between the thoughts of forging compromise. Deep down, he feared they were already too late, that Maplewood might not be able to withstand the tidal wave of ambition coming for it. Just then, Laura's expression hardened. If you choose to reject our offer, we will pursue other options. You won't be able to stop progress, she warned. Her words like an unfinished melody that lingered ominously in the air. Sam's heart raced. The stakes were higher than he thought. He could feel Ellie's tiny fingers tighten in his grasp, her presence a grounding force amidst the storm. What happens next? He thought, anxiety intertwining with determination. He had to rally everyone together, not just for the artifact, but for the soul of their community. As the meeting spiraled into another heated debate, the contrast of ambition and tradition hissed like a live wire, leaving Sam with one resolute thought. They were on the threshold of a battle, one that could change everything, not just for them, but for generations to come. And with that realization, one burning question flickered in his mind. Could unity be their strongest weapon against an invader masked as an ally? The air was thick with tension as Laura paused, her eyes scanning the room. Sam could see the uncertainty swirling around him, a sea of faces reflecting both hope and fear. He clenched his fists, feeling the heat rise in his chest. They were at a crossroads, and in moments like this, clarity often struck like a bolt from the blue. Laura, wait, he called out, interrupting the hum of whispers. You talk about progress, but what if that progress costs us who we are? She frowned, but he could also see a flicker of curiosity. And what exactly do you think we're taking from you? Maplewood's history is woven into our lives, he replied, his voice stronger now, fed by a surge of determination. You may see a half-finished building where we see memories, our ancestors, traditions, our stories. The crowd was shifting, a push and pull of emotions, some leaning toward Laura's grand vision, while others were feeling the pulse of Sam's words. They had a choice, and it was unfolding right in front of them. So what do you want? The man from earlier asked again, though his tone sounded less eager now. His excitement was dimmed, flickering like a candle in a draft. I want us to have a seat at the table, Sam replied, his gaze locking onto Laura's. Not just to be the ones who give up their past in exchange for a shiny new building. You don't need to erase who we are to create something beautiful. Ellie squeezed his hand, and he could feel her tiny pulse. He glanced down at her hopeful face, and for a moment, he steadied himself. This was about more than just negotiation. This was a fight for their legacy, their history. Laura studied him, her expression softening. It sounds noble but idealistic. She leaned closer. You're going to need a solid plan if you expect me to take it seriously. I can't promise Windfall Enterprises will wait indefinitely. A swell of nervousness surged through Sam. Then we'll create that plan. A community-led initiative. Let us model what this could look like together. As whispers turned to murmurs, the crowd began to lean in, sensing a shift. Sarah stepped forward, her voice cracking with emotion. We can host events, workshops, education-based tours that engage visitors without losing the essence of what makes our home unique. One by one, others started to chime in, the realization cascading through the audience. Ideas swirled like warm summer air. A local artist proposed exhibitions showcasing Maplewood's history. Someone else suggested collaborating on sustainable tourism that benefited everyone. But then, a voice rose above the rest. How do we know Windfall will play fair? A man in the back said, genuine skepticism woven into his words. They could take our ideas and leave us nothing but empty promises. Sam's heart sank for a moment but quickly leaped back into determination. Then we hold them accountable. This is our town and we stand to protect it. If it means risking their investment to keep our voice, we do it together. The tension shifted again, this time to a sense of collective strength. The crowd began to react, nods of agreement and murmurs of hope filling the hall. But Laura's expression hardened again, her gaze piercing. You're setting yourselves up for disappointment if you think holding on to nostalgia will win this battle. She stepped back, reigniting the flame of contention. You need to ask yourselves if you're willing to put your dreams on the line for an illusion. The room fell silent, her words hanging heavy in the air like storm clouds. Sam caught Ellie's eye, and for a fleeting second, he felt the weight of their ambitions collide with the stark potential of loss. He stepped closer to Laura, a fire igniting within him. We're not afraid of risk. We're afraid of losing everything we love. And that isn't an illusion. It's our reality. As eyes turned from Laura to him, he sensed the energy in the room transforming. They were moving from despair to action. But was it enough to sway Windfall Enterprises? Just as voices began to rise again in excitement, Sam felt a shiver run down his spine. When a shadow loomed behind Laura, it turned out to be someone far more dangerous than he had anticipated. Are you really ready to fight for this? The voice cut through, a chilling reminder that the game had just begun. The crowd stilled, hearts in the balance. Sam's breath caught as he realized this battle was never going to be just about plans and promises. It was about their very identity, their spirit, and now it was personal. What would happen if they lost? The crowd shifted uneasily, the sudden presence shadowing them like a cloud of uncertainty. Sam's eyes darted around, searching for the source of that voice. Laura seemed unfazed, but the tension in her posture suggested she felt it too. From behind her stepped a figure clad in a dark suit, sharp features punctuated by a knowing smile that didn't quite meet his eyes. There was something unsettling about him, something that made the hairs on the back of Sam's neck prickle. Thomas Reddick, the man introduced himself with a silky voice, his gaze sweeping across the room. Consultant for Windfall Enterprises. I'll be the one making sure our interests are well protected. His words dripped with a kind of arrogance that made Sam's skin crawl. Protecting your interests, Sam echoed, anger bubbling beneath the surface. And at what cost? You'll strip our town to fill your pockets. One to you? Reddick's smile faded, replaced by a look of mild amusement. You're bold, Sam. I'll give you that. But this isn't about stripping away. It's about moving forward. Maplewood needs revitalization. A fresh chapter. Fresh chapter? More like a fresh lie. You want to erase everything we've built. Sam felt his heart pounding, words rushing from his lips like a flood. Ellie clutched his hand tighter, grounding him but also electrifying the moment. He saw fear in her eyes, but it was overshadowed by a spark of defiance. Reddick studied them both, eyes narrowing slightly. You think you can hold onto the past without consequence? Progress won't wait for anyone. It's your choice, adapt or fade into obscurity. A murmur swept through the crowd, and Sam could see doubt creeping in, glancing between Reddick and Laura. Was their resolve beginning to crack? Obscurity? He stepped back into the fray, raising his voice, desperate to reclaim the momentum. Maplewood isn't just a name on a map. It's a home. Our home. Our stories, our lives, they matter more than some corporation's bottom line. Emboldened, Sarah chimed in again. We can create something that honors our history while allowing for growth. We can do both. But at what cost? Reddick shot back, his tone sharp like a knife. Your ideas will only get trampled in the realities of business. Windfall isn't a charity. It's an investment. And if you're not willing to play by the rules, you'll lose everything. Sam felt the weight of those words crushing down on him. The room held its breath, collective anxiety palpable. But deep within, a fire flickered. He couldn't let this be the end of Maplewood. Then we need to change the rules, he declared, astonished by the power behind his own conviction. If it's our voices that fuel the future, we can demand respect. Evolve while preserving what makes Maplewood special. Reddick raised an eyebrow, skeptical yet intrigued. An interesting proposition. But tell me, how do you plan to enforce these demands? Actions speak louder than words. We bring our community together, Sam urged, his voice rising. Mobilize those who believe in us. Show Windfall that Maplewood has strength in unity. Reddick regarded him with a mixture of contempt and curiosity. Good luck with that, he sneered. You think these folks will stand by you when push comes to shove? Sam turned, locking eyes with the crowd, his heart throbbing. Will you stand by us? He asked, feeling the weight of their hopes and fears. Will you fight for our story? For a heartbeat, the tension hung in the air. Then a slow ripple began. Heads nodding, murmurs building. Ellie squeezed his hand tighter, a surge of support flowing through their connection. But just as it seemed victory might be at hand, Reddick leaned closer, his voice low and menacing. You better hope that fight is worth it, Sam. Because the stakes are higher than you realize. The room froze. Sam's pulse quickened. What did he mean? What was at stake, really? And as the words hung ominously, a fresh wave of uncertainty crashed over him. Would they be ready for whatever came next? As the warning loomed like a thundercloud, a question pierced through his thoughts. What were they really up against, and could they truly withstand the storm? Sam felt the room close in around him, voices fading like echoes in a cave. The air was thick, charged with an unspoken energy, and every eye was on him, waiting. Reddick's smug expression provoked something primal in him, a swell of anger and fear battling for dominance. Reddick's right about one thing, Laura finally said, her voice cutting through the tension like a knife. We can't ignore the realities of business. We've got to be smart about this. And what? Just let them bulldoze over our dreams? Sam countered, desperation creeping into his voice. Is that what you're saying? We can't compromise what makes Maplewood. Maplewood. What I'm saying is we need a plan. Laura shot back, her eyes flashing determination. We need something they can't ignore. We can't charge at them with just passion. We need strategy, resources. The crowd murmured, uncertainty mixing with a flicker of hope. Sam felt the weight of their gazes pressing upon him, the mix of anxiety and anticipation. You're all afraid, I get it, he said, voice rising again with conviction. But if we back down now, we're giving up before the fight even starts. We can't let fear steer this town into the ground. Ellie stepped forward, aligning herself beside Sam, her expression a blend of support and worry. We can meet to figure this out, right? We can gather ideas, create a presentation, show them what Maplewood represents. This isn't just about stopping Windfall. It's about claiming our identity. Reddick's laughter erupted, a cold, humorless sound. You think you can battle a corporation like Windfall with thoughts and feelings? That's cute, he said, brushing off their hopes like dust from his shoulder. You're deluding yourselves if you think nostalgia will win this war. Then let us turn that nostalgia into something they can't ignore. Sam shot back, desperate to redirect the energy in the room. Let us show them that Maplewood's history can be a blueprint for our future. The crowd stirred, a flicker of excitement igniting in some faces. Even Reddick couldn't hide the shift in his demeanor, curiosity mingling with disdain. A noble attempt, but you'll fail. There's a reason big business gets what it wants. He paused for effect, eyes gleaming, and trust me, the stakes are incredibly high. You won't stand a chance. With every word, Sam felt his resolve hardening. Maybe the stakes are high, he replied, voice steady. But so are our hopes. This town is worth fighting for. Reddick leaned in closer, his demeanor shifting, becoming more serious. I hope you every bit of your spirit, Sam, he said, voice dropping to a whisper. Because the moment you stand up to Windfall, you'll find out just how dirty the games can get. Suddenly, the shutters rattled against the howling wind outside, as if the universe itself echoed Sam's unease. A breath of tension enveloped them, the threat hanging like a storm cloud just above their heads. What does that even mean? Someone from the crowd shouted back, fear giving way to anger. But Reddick simply smiled, sharp and cold. Just be very careful. You don't know the lengths I'll go to protect my interests, he said, his voice like ice. With that, he turned on his heel and walked away, leaving a pregnant silence in his wake. As the door swung shut with a final, dull thud, Sam felt a shiver run down his spine. The crowd began to chatter nervously, glances exchanged, and uncertainty started creeping back in. We can't let up, Sam urged, gathering energy from the growing unease. Let us meet tomorrow right here. We'll brainstorm, strategize. We can't let Reddick or Windfall take our story away from us. As he spoke, he could see the flickers of defiance igniting in some eyes, while others still wavered. How could they win when the stakes felt so high and opponents so powerful? The rallying spirit stirred something deep within him, whispering visions of Maplewood standing tall. He grasped Elias' hand tighter, determined to fight not just for the town, but for the very soul of their community. But deep down, as the restless energy swirled around him, a gnawing question lingered. Were they truly ready to face whatever darkness Reddick had hinted at? And as they leaned into each other for strength, a new fear bubbled forth. Could they really prepare for the darkness lurking beyond the horizon? The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting long shadows that danced across the meeting room. Sam watched as the crowd began to disperse, their initial excitement gradually fading into uncertainty. The weight of his words hung in the air, a fragile string tethering them together. Ellie stood beside him, her brow furrowed in contemplation. You really think they'll come back tomorrow? She asked quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. Sam met her eyes, searching for the reassurance that had once been so easy to provide. I have to believe they will, he replied, though doubt crept in like the darkness surrounding them. If we want to fight for Maplewood, we need every single one of them. This isn't just about us anymore. Ellie nodded, but her expression remained shadowed by worry. Reddick doesn't play fair, Sam. We've seen that already. Yeah, but if we back down now, what does that say about us? About this town? He took a deep breath, letting the weight of the moment settle. We have to stand together. We can't let fear dictate our actions. He felt a flicker of resolve spark within him, igniting memories of home, the laughter of children playing in the park, the smell of freshly baked pies from Granny May's bakery, the warm embraces of neighbors at the annual harvest festival. Maplewood was not just a place. It was a tapestry of lives intertwined. Word would spread. They were a community, after all. Determined to shift the narrative, Sam turned to Ellie, his voice steady. Let us get to work. We need to draft a plan that showcases who we are. We'll make them see why this town matters. Colder than the November air outside, the doubt leached back into her expression. And if they don't care? If Windfall just steamrolls through what we create? If they care enough to threaten us, then they care enough to fight against us too, he countered. That's worth something. I senti it? We're not alone in this. As night fell, Sam and Ellie gathered ideas, drafting pages filled with hopes and dreams. They envisioned a presentation, something they could present to the town meeting, something that might resonate with others who had grown tired of corporate greed. Each word penned reflected their shared determination, an unbreakable thread binding them together amidst the chaos. Hours later, with ink-stained fingers and tired eyes, they looked at the outlines sprawled across the table. We can do this, Ellie said, an ember of belief reigniting in her voice. Just as he opened his mouth to respond, the door swung open, revealing a familiar face. Laura stood in the doorway, breathless and wide-eyed. I heard what you're doing. I want in. A wave of relief washed over Sam. The night suddenly felt brighter. We're planning to present tomorrow. We need all the voices we can get. Laura nodded, a determined glint in her eyes. Count me in. We'll make sure no one forgets what Maplewood means. There was a renewed sense of urgency. They could prepare and gather more allies, but how to present themselves in a way that would truly capture the essence of what they were fighting for. As the three of them brainstormed late into the night, the stakes rose with every idea shared, every dream expressed. But cracks were forming. Unseen shadows loomed. Reddick had left an indelible mark, a threat that whispered through the halls of Maplewood, reminding them of what they might lose. "We're strong together," Sam said, trying to drown out the echoes of doubt. "But we can't ignore what Reddick said. We need to know just how far he'll go." An uneasy silence fell over them. They knew they were stepping into a battleground, but how prepared could they truly be? One thing was certain. They were not backing off. They would stand their ground. Tomorrow beckoned with promise and peril. As Sam stared out at the darkening sky, a chilling sense of inevitability settled in his chest. Would they unearth hidden truths about Windfall that could turn the tide in their favor? The thought lingered, heavy and potent, like a storm threatening to break. Could the power of their shared history hold the key to their future? Morning light filtered through the kitchen window, casting a warm glow over the table where Sam, Ellie, and Laura sat, fueled by cups of strong coffee and the lingering excitement of their plans. The air was thick with anticipation, but beneath it simmered an undercurrent of anxiety. Sam glanced at his watch. "We need to get moving. Time's ticking and every minute counts." Ellie fiddled with a piece of paper, her fingers tapping nervously against the table. "What if they don't react the way we hope? What if we're wasting our time?" He met her gaze, firm but compassionate. "It's not a waste if we're standing up for what we believe in. This is what Maplewood deserves. We have to at least try." Laura leaned forward, her enthusiasm brightening the mood. "Let us focus on the good things we can bring to light. People love this town. We just need to remind them why." Sam nodded, feeling a spark of hope. "Exactly. We can highlight our community's strengths, our art, our history, our families. Maplewood isn't just a dot on the map. It's alive." As the three of them began to outline their presentation, gathering stories and memories that resonated deeply, Sam felt a wave of nostalgia wash over him. He remembered the warmth of summer nights at the old amphitheater, the gathering of families, laughter echoing against the backdrop of fireflies dancing. Those memories fueled him. An hour passed, and the kitchen buzzed with energy. They transformed ideas into a compelling narrative, mapping out their key points on poster boards that would stand tall for everyone to see. But then a knock at the door interrupted their momentum. Sam exchanged puzzled glances with Ellie and Laura before heading to answer it. Standing on the porch was his neighbor, Mr. Jenkins. The older man had a worried look in his eyes, the lines of his face deepening with concern. "Hey, Sam, can I have a word?" Sam stepped outside, leaving Ellie and Laura inside. "What's going on?" The elderly man shifted his weight uneasily. "I heard about the meeting tonight, about Reddick's plans. I guess I'm scared." Sam felt his heart tighten. "We're all scared, Mr. Jenkins, but we can't let that stop us." "I know," he said, his voice cracking, "but Reddick is no ordinary businessman. He plays by his own rules. The last time someone tried to fight against him, it didn't end well." Sam forced himself to stay calm. "You mean when they tried to stop the factory build?" "Exactly. Tore the town apart. Friends turned against each other. It left scars that have never healed." Sam could feel the weight of those words. He wanted to encourage Mr. Jenkins, to reassure him that this time would be different. But the man's fears were valid. "We need people to come together. We have to remind them of what Reddick's actions could mean for our families, our neighbors." Mr. Jenkins nodded slowly, uncertainty still etched on his face. "Just be careful. Not everyone will support you. This town has changed." As the older man turned to leave, Sam felt a weight settle onto his shoulders. The reality of their mission deepened. They were fighting not just for their future, but for the very survival of the community fabric as well. After closing the door, Sam returned to the kitchen, where Ellie and Laura awaited him. He could see the concern mirrored in their eyes. What did he say? Just making sure we know what's at stake, Sam replied, his voice steady despite the storm brewing inside him. He's afraid. And we need to address that fear when we present. We have to make them see it's about more than just our dreams, it's about what will be lost. The room fell silent. The truth of the struggle ahead loomed larger than ever. Suddenly, a thought struck Sam, electrifying. What if we could find stories from those who fought before us? If we could show how Reddick's destruction hit home back then, we could strengthen our message. Ellie's eyes widened. That might just work, but where do we even start? Let us reach out to the veterans of those fights, Sam suggested, determination pouring back into him. Their voices may help us rally Maplewood. The urgency in the room crystallized again, and as they scrambled to gather resources, the stakes burned brightly in their minds. Would the echoes of the past compel others to rise with them? They didn't know, but one thing was clear. The walls of Maplewood were beginning to tremble, and the hidden truths might just be what they needed to confront the looming danger of Reddick's advances. As they hustled to put the past together with the present, a lingering question weighed on them all: would their efforts be enough to awaken the spirit of Maplewood when it mattered most? The sun was dipping low in the sky when Sam, Ellie, and Laura converged outside the community center. The atmosphere was electric, charged with the mixture of hope and fear from all corners of Maplewood. There were more people gathered than Sam had anticipated: families, elderly residents, and even a few teenagers stood entwined with memories and expectations. "Look at them," Laura said, her voice a blend of awe and worry. "They're here because they care, but do they really believe we can make a difference?" "We won't know until we try," Sam replied, glancing at the assembled crowd. Yet doubt crept in. The words of Mr. Jenkins echoed in his mind, a constant reminder that not all was as perfect as it seemed. Ellie clutched a stack of papers close to her chest. "We've got to start with the stories. People need to hear them. They need to remember who we are." As they set up their display, Sam's heart raced. How could he convince a town haunted by past failures to trust again? The burden felt heavier now that the community was watching. More than just words to present, they were counting on him. When the time arrived, Sam stepped up to the microphone, the weight of expectations coursing through him. Silence enveloped the crowd, all eyes directed at him. He took a deep breath, feeling the coffee and adrenaline intertwine in his veins. "Thank you all for being here tonight," he began, his voice steady. "This is about more than Reddick's plans. This is about Maplewood, our home, and remembering what we've fought for in the past." As he shared stories of the town's rich history, community spirit, and the scars of past battles, he caught glimpses of those around him. A woman in the front row wiped away a tear. An older gentleman nodded his head, lost in thought. Sam could see that they were starting to connect the dots. But just as he was gaining momentum, a voice rang out from the back. "What if it's too late? What if we can't stop him?" The crowd shifted uncomfortably, some exchanging worried glances. Sam's pulse quickened, uncertainty gnawing at him. "Think," he urged himself. "Don't let fear win." He steadied himself and looked into the crowd. "It's never too late as long as we stand together," he exclaimed. "When we unite, we're stronger than any businessman's greed. We have the power to reclaim our future." Applauses erupted, echoing off the walls. But he knew encouragement alone wouldn't be enough. They needed action. "We can't just talk. We must act. Let us gather our resources and speak to those who've fought for Maplewood before us. We can share their stories, their strength. So we rise up together." The energy shifted. It felt contagious. Sam looked at Ellie and Laura, their faces reflecting a cautious hope. He could see the transformation taking place in the crowd. Maybe, just maybe, they weren't fighting alone. As the meeting closed, people lingered, sharing their own experiences. Conversations sparked like fireflies in the dusky air, stories lifting the collective burden. Sam felt light, vulnerable, yet invincible. Then, suddenly, a figure stood out, emerging from the shadows. A woman with silver hair and fierce eyes stepped forward. "I have something to say," she declared, capturing everyone's attention. There was a weight in her gaze that suggested she had lived through the cycles of loss and hope before. Sam's heart raced. Who was she? What stories lay behind those eyes? As she began to speak, a hush fell over the crowd. Sam could sense the tide of change. But would her words rally the spirits of Maplewood? Or would they unravel everything they had just built? The resolve deepened, and with it came a creeping curiosity. What secrets did this woman hold that could alter their mission forever? As the woman stepped into the light, Sam sensed the crowd's collective breath catch. Her silver hair shimmered like moonbeams, and her eyes sparkled with wisdom born from a life intertwined with the history of Maplewood. "Thank you for standing up for our town," she said, her voice steady yet warm. "My name is Agnes. I've lived here all my life, seen the ups and downs, and fought battles I thought would break us." Sam felt a tremor of anticipation. He could see the way everyone leaned in, eagerness dancing on their faces. Agnes continued, "When I was a girl, Windfall's father company ripped apart this community, promising jobs while leaving only shattered lives behind. I lost family and friends to its lure of quick riches. They painted a pretty picture, but underneath lay a darkness that consumed us." The crowd murmured, a wave of recognition washing over them. Sam could almost feel the shared memories. They were no longer isolated but connected through this narrative. "Fighting back takes courage, but it also takes unity," Agnes urged, locking eyes with each listener. "We cannot let another generation suffer because of greed and ambition masquerading as progress." "Agnes is right," someone shouted from the back, lighting the spark that spread through the crowd. "We can learn from the past." "Yes." Sam felt the fire rekindle within him, energized by her strength. "We have to remember our legacy and build on it." Agnes nodded, but her expression grew serious. "This fight will not be easy. Reddick and Windfall would love nothing more than to crush the spirit of Maplewood. But you," she pointed emphatically at Sam, "you have the power to not just remember, but reclaim what is rightfully yours. Gather everyone, hear their stories, and use them as your shield." Sam could feel Elias' hands squeezing his tightly again, the little spark of determination fueling his resolve. "We need to pull together our resources, share strategies, voices, memories," he called out. "Let us establish a community council, build connections that Windfall can't just walk all over." Their enthusiasm danced like flames igniting in a dry forest. People began to realize that they were not just recollecting old stories. They were fashioning armor against the impending threat. Conversation buzzed, ideas were exchanged, and plans began to form like a tapestry of resistance. "Tomorrow night, we meet here," Sam declared, his voice ringing with authority. "Let us figure out how to present ourselves to Windfall, how to show them that we're not giving up without a fight." Leapfrogging from each idea, the crowd swelled with excitement. They began networking in nearby groups, laughter mingling with the determined conversations. In the midst of the jubilation, Sam looked at Ellie. For the first time in days, her gaze was bright with hope. She grinned. "Daddy, we're going to save Maplewood." "Yes, we will," he replied, his heart swelling. He felt as if he could take on the world. As the evening wrapped around them, Agnes laid a gentle hand on Sam's shoulder. "Keep your heart steadfast," she said softly. "The strength of Maplewood lies not in its buildings but in its people. You already have the spirit to overcome." With the moon rising high, illuminating the faces of community members ignited with purpose, Sam knew they were at a tipping point. He felt a powerful unity begin to weave among them, a vibrant thread stitching together their past, present, and future. Tomorrow would bring challenges, but tonight forged connections that passed through generations. Each follower felt a deep-rooted determination, a sense of belonging that fought against fear. The meeting room echoed with laughter, stories, and shared dreams until finally, it started to thin out. Sam and Ellie stepped outside into the cool evening air, smiling at the stars. "I think we can really do this," Ellie whispered, her small hand enveloped in his. "Yes, we can," Sam said, his heart brimming with pride. "This is just the beginning." Together, hand in hand, they walked beneath the vast sky, ready to face whatever lay ahead. They would defend their home, their stories, and the love woven throughout Maplewood as the winds whispered through the trees. Sam felt the spirit of their community rise, a formidable force united against the dark clouds of greed and ambition. And so they marched forward, into their collective future, bold and unwavering. This was their moment and they were determined to seize it. Now, if you felt the intensity of this story, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive adventures. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let the world know stories like this matter. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this inspiring ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation, because it's time to show your support like never before. Don't wait not even one more second. You are the heartbeat of this community. Let us grow together.